It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. It is your Feel Good Breakfast Show, and we are celebrating International Women's Day on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. JP Sebastian, he's here. Earlier we spoke about female cinematographers, and now we're putting the spotlight on movies coming out in 2024 that are directed by females.
Stuff to look forward to. So I was going to cover 2023, but you know, a lot of those ideally should be at the Oscars already. You got Barbie, obviously, that swept it for Greta Gerwig, Anatomy of a Fall, etc., etc. Past Lives, which didn't get enough acclaim from the Oscars, and it's amazing well, that's Greta Lee and I've forgotten the director's name, but we're talking about 2024 now. We shouldn't forget these names. Side Coast, starring Woody Harrelson, will be one of the most recognizable names in that. And this is going to a streamer in the United States. Unfortunately, we don't have here, so we still might get a big screening of it. So, yes, sometimes not everything needs to be fireworks, and if you can just like foster a very intimate again and very like warm sort of journey and environment for your characters, then something like this could be interesting. JP's been very obtuse about a pretty straightforward story. So the young lady is taking care of her brother who is disabled.
Okay.
And it feels like I really sort of appreciate these stories because I've known people who've had to be carers, and it's not an easy walk.
No.
Especially at that so young, which is kind of a South African narrative.
You think that you'd be taking care of your life, you think that you'd be on your journey, but you have to possibly say the horrible seeming words like, you know, I feel burdened or something like that. So Woody Harrelson is this character that she hits off this strange friendship with because he's this activist and she also has these inclinations, while her mother is also a very gigantic name. I think it's Laura
Linney.
Here we
wow.
go. It's just speaking of Truman Show, you and me earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, yeah, I look forward to this one. There's no date in SA for it just yet. And yeah, I suppose if you like these warm, sort of like pokey Juno type things, then maybe this is the kind of thing up your alley. And especially since, like I said, those sort of stories to me are really important, that you allow a carer to go, this is hard.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be a superhero at all times.
And it never stops. And I think it's quite a story to plug into. Love Lies Bleeding. Kristen Stewart steps in again. Yeah.
We just mentioned Spencer, and this lady has done so well for herself since she had to deal with vampires back in the day. Twilight. Everything she does thereafter is like very deeply considered. She's quite a soulful kind of person in acting. And Love Lies Bleeding is fortunately a bit more edgy than something like Spencer, which was beautiful and I do highly recommend. But it feels like a Bonnie and Clyde situation, or I suppose Bonnie and Buddy. Oh, gross! That was Ed Harris with creepy hair. Ed Harris is a man from her past, specifically her father, who is a criminal figure who she fixes to get revenge on because of this abusive relationship that she's had in the past, and strikes off a romance with this bodybuilder in what, like I said, feels like a Bonnie and Clyde situation. So if there are a couple of these that have been coming out recently to, you know, criminal heists and all that kind of thing, taking this last chance, this gap to write history for ourselves, write our own destinies. And these stories definitely are popular.
I'm here for Ed Harris's hair. That you could have begun and ended just there. It looks.
Show all it is.
That's edgy.
It does look full on and dark.
I think this is Studio A24, and they carried stuff previously like Uncut Gems. So edgy is definitely the word. Intense. A thriller of A, outrunning the police, B, outrunning this deeply violent human being, and C, discovering this new aspect of yourself and your sexuality. And yeah, it should be hecka exciting, and hopefully we get more of that kind of thing, as well as sweet schmaltzy stuff.
Selma and Louise for what?
Oh yes, of course, Selma and Louise. I cannot forget.
Moving over to ISS.
And so International Space Station, so really appropriately, Russia and the United States are all hunky-dory, high up in the sky. And first name I've got to say here, however, is Ariana DeBose. And Ariana DeBose would have come onto the map for a lot of people with West Side Story, where she stole the show. That was her first movie that Steven Spielberg was just like, you're good, don't worry, you're an actress from now on.
Let's build a film around you.
Last thing she was in was Argyle, which was just terrible to give a lady as talented as herself a side role, but here she takes the lead. And ISS is interesting because while everything, like I said, is hunky-dory between these two nations, up in the space station, stuff starts going down on Earth. And World War III kicks off.
Oh, wow.
So now they've got this microcosmic, very claustrophobic situation in tight spaces where they're still trying to be like, guys, we're a scientific mission. We don't care about the politics that are going on down there, until they start getting the phone calls from their government saying, take the station by any means necessary.
Oh, wow.
So now you've got these two sides. I'm very intrigued. It's been getting sort of middling reviews and people mixed feelings about it, but it hasn't obviously come out in SA just yet. It will come out, and when it does, I'll have more to tell you about it. But I am intrigued, especially for something where it's, you know, like a whodunit in a tight space.
Yeah.
And in the compression of space, the pressure cooker that is. Yeah.
And I think if you had to ask AI to like look at a clickbait headline that would grab everything like this potentially weaves a couple of those threads together right
Sorry,
now. Which is crazy.
I was crinkling my nose because you said a word that some critics were saying that is problematic, possibly. It's faster, but AI. But we have to move on now. I think that the final one that we're going to talk about is moving.
I saw the TV glow.
Yeah, and it gets weirder and weirder. Again, A24, which is studio specifically for weird. So if you like stuff like Annihilation, it's about as weird as it
I
gets.
mean, it's weird in the name itself.
Yeah, why isn't, introduce a bit more weird into your lives? Like a boy named Justice. The actor is Justice Smith.
Oh, yeah.
So it looks like it might have elements of horror. It isn't specifically just that, though. It is psychedelic. And what these two characters find, the girl tells the boy, remember that show from our childhood? It's like a really obscure, sort of like a really Valley type thing or whatever. And he sort of remembers it, but half doesn't. So it's this weird dream sort of middle space of, did this really happen? And they both sort of fall back into having a second look at this thing. And the TV sort of draws them in. I don't know if you have a poltergeist situation, but supposedly it's more of a coming of age and a spook story type
way.
thing. Yeah. So and that's interesting, man. Like not everything necessarily needs to be like, the sun is the closest star, or whatever it was, that love triangle stuff that teenagers are into. Teenagers also want weird stuff too, and I saw the TV glow might be.
Look, my imagination was at its peak, I think, in my teens, man. That's your superpower. I love that. Go and experience the world through a different lens. And thank you for bringing us the femme lens in this space. Some incredible female filmmakers that are quite literally guiding the course of the entertainment industry. We need to know their names.